Hello everyone. Welcome to Communication of Chinese Costume Art. Last section, we have talked about the third part, the weaves of Chinese clothing. Now, let's move to the fourth part, the interactive communication in the Chinese costumes history. Now, let's move to the first lecture, the King Wuling of Zhao State and shooting on horse in Hu clothing. The Chinese people did not wear court pants during the Shang and Zhou dynasties, while the clothing had obviously changed by the Warring States period, which was the appearance of shenyi and clothing of Ming dynasty. The shenyi refers to the clothes, the original upper garment and the lower petticoats are sewed together, some of which look like dresses of later dynasties. Such clothes are called shenyi, that means the deep garments, because they cover a large area of the body. The Hu clothing, Hufu, a costume of ethnic minorities in ancient northern China, which has been generally consist of short coats, long trousers, and boots. The coats are tight and narrow and are really convenient for nomadism and hunting. During the Warring States period, in order to strengthen his country's military power, the King Wuling of Zhao State, the monarch of Zhao, has firstly adopted Hu clothing as the martial attire in the Central Plains region, since when wearing Hu clothing has become a common practice for a while, bringing a great change in the history of ancient Chinese clothing. When King Wuling of Zhao State has acceded to the throne, the Zhao State did not at a very high position among all the powerful states. The foot soldiers and carriers are the main combat modes between the vassal states in the Central Plains at that time. The soldiers have to wear robes and heavy armor, resulting in quite inconvenient movements. The King Wuling of Zhao State saw the soldiers of the northern Hu people's army wearing short coats and long trousers and were quite agile when riding a horse or archery, so he decided to carry out military reform and change the soldiers' clothes into the Hu clothing and learn to ride and archery so as to finally change the current situation of the weak national strength of his country. The King Wuling of Zhao State believes that the only way to strengthen the military power of Zhao State is to learn strong points from other Hu people to improve themselves and establish their own cavalry to fight against Hu's cavalry, so as to avoid the fate of destroying the country. Meanwhile, the wide-sleeved robes in the Central Plains must be changed into the Hu clothing, which are tight-sleeved short coats with leather belts and leather boots on the feet to meet the needs of riding and fighting, with the entire society generally respected the orthodoxy of the Central Plains. Under the culture of Chinese etiquette, the King Wuling of Zhao State can take risks against the world and reformed the traditional system of military attire, and took advantage of the dress customs of Hu people, which has showed him indeed a statesman and strategist with far-sighted and brilliant ideas. The Hu clothing is the costume of northern minorities in ancient China. It is quite different from the Han's wide robes with belt on the waist in the Central Plains. It consists of short clothes, long trousers, and high boots, and really applicable to the nomadic lifestyle. Compared with the costumes of the Han nationality, the biggest feature its lower part is not a skirt but a real pair of trousers with legs and crotch. There's something we have to point out, that people at that time cannot wear clothes as they like, but have to abide by the strict statutes, from princes and ministers to common people. King Wuling of Zhao State has been going to introduce the clothes of ethnic minorities into his own state to strengthen their combat effectiveness, and it is racked his brains to ask nobles and ordinary people wear Hu clothing for riding and shooting. he has forced to promote the Hu dress without any flinch in the face of great resistance, because the change of Hu suit conforms to the requirements of the times, represents the interests of Zhao, and meets the people's desire to resist the intrusion of powerful enemies, and because King Wuling of Zhao has taken measures to implement it step by step from top to bottom, Hufu has finally become popular throughout the country. In the process of carrying out Hufu riding and shooting, King Wuling of Zhao State quickly built up a powerful cavalry force by recruiting people to ride and shoot, reshuffling armies, and recruiting Hu cavalry from nomadic tribes in border areas. Later, King Wuling of Zhao took advantage of Hufu's riding and shooting to defeat the neighboring tribes and set up 3 counties in the newly opened area in the north. This accelerated the process of feudalization and developed large areas of frontier land. At the same time, he built the Great Wall in the north and stationed troops to guard it. He protected the production and life of the people in the border areas, consolidated the northern border areas, and strengthened the local unification, laying the foundation for the unification of the northern border areas in the Qin and Han dynasties. Zhao Wuling Wang's reform of Hufu riding and shooting has a great impact on the society. Its significance is not only limited to clothing reform, but also has a very positive impact on the future development of Chinese society. Hufu is more convenient for people's production and labor and other social activities than original clothes in the Central Plains region, which has also had a far-reaching impact on history, morality, and aesthetics. By the Han Dynasty, Hufu has become an official uniform. After the northern dynasties, civil and military officials were all dressed in Hu clothing. Later, ordinary people, even women and children, gradually put on Hu clothing. The superiority of Hufu is increasingly accepted by the people of the Central Plains. Okay, that's all the content of this course. The content of next course will be the transfer of Hu and Han costume in Wei, Jin, southern and northern dynasties. See you next course.